previous demos, we showed you how to use Xenos Enterprise Server to transform content using our drag and drop interface. In this demo, we'll show you how easy it is to enable the transformation of content without custom coding or scripting on top of any repository using Xenos Enterprise Server and repository services. For this demo, since most of our customers are in financial services, we'll be using a banking example and IBM CMOD as the backend repository. In order to connect to IBM On Demand, first you need to set up the repository adapter. Right-click on the Components directory and go to New Component. Under Third-Party Connectors, IBM, On Demand, choose the On Demand repository adapter. Click Next along with Express Setup and then give it a name. Next, we'll start configuring the component. We'll give it a name of IBM On Demand and then go down to the connection factory to enter the server name as well as pointing it to the location of ODWAC. Under Alias, we'll point it to the Best Bank folder and give it the alias of BB. Now that we've entered all the pertinent data, let's save it and deploy it to the server so we can test it out. To test it out, we'll use the Xenos Repository User Interface, which gives an abstracted view into any repository supported by our Repository Services interface. We'll type in the username and password for On Demand and click on the Login button. Once we're in, we can see all the folders currently available to the administrator. When we select the Best Bank folder, we see that there are 15 documents already loaded in. This is what we'll be using for searching against, as well as retrieving from. Okay, so we just set up the repository adapter for IBM On Demand and connected to it through the Xenos Repository User Interface. We could easily leave it at that, but for some cases, since you may already have your own portal application, you may want to just integrate with our repository services through a simple web service call. To show how this web service call would work, I will use the Web Services Component Wizard in Xenos Enterprise Server to do a search on the repository and retrieve a document. We'll create a new Web Services component by right-clicking on the Components directory and creating a new component. We'll navigate down the tree to Processes, Enterprise Server, Communication, and choose the Web Services component. Give it a name and click Finish. Now we have the main UI for the Web Services Wizard. Let's put in the WSDL location for the repository services running on top of Xenos Enterprise Server and click Load. This will load up the WSDL and give us a list of methods we have access to. Once we get that list, let's use the Retrieve Hit List method, which will enable us to search against the repository. Next, drag that over to the right and start filling in values. Alias is going to be the name of the adapter, :BB. User is going to be admin. Password is going to be a secret. Now we can drill down into the search criteria to add that in. The name of the field we are searching against is name. The operation is OP_like. And the value to search for is April Black. Let's execute this to see what kind of search results we get. We can see that one document is returned, and we can also see the document's ID. Let's copy the doc ID to be used later. So what we really wanted to do was grab a document out of the repository. All we've done so far is a quick query on the repository to see what's in there. Now, let's grab the document that we found. First, we'll choose the appropriate retrieve message method. And drag it over to the right. The number of fields required here is significantly less than before. We'll fill in the alias, user and password fields as we did before. Put in the previously copied doc ID to the doc name field. Now we can save it, execute it, and view the results. you'll notice that the results received are an XML SOAP message with a base64 element containing the actual document. We'll close out of that and shut everything down. We just showed you how you can use a simple web service call to go through the Xenos repository services and not only search against a repository, but also grab a document. At this point, you'll notice that the document coming out is an AFP document. However, you don't want to make a web services call to grab a document, then another one to do the transformation. Let's modify the on-demand adapter to transform the AFP to PDF before returning it, so you don't need to make two separate web services calls. First, I'll quickly show you a couple things. The process flow is already set up for the transformation. The transformation is just a simple AFP to PDF transformation. Now, let's go back into the previously configured adapter and add a post process to the BB alias, which will link to the process flow I just showed you. We'll set up the input names and output names so that we can track it later on. We'll need to deploy this to the server so that the current one running is updated with the new information. While deploying, we'll make it auto start and also refresh the component pool. Next, we'll create a new process flow to handle the web services request, pull the PDF out of the SOAP request, and write it to disk. Now, let's create a new process flow and give it a name of Execute Web Service. We'll make some room on the flow, drag on the Retrieve Document Web Service request we created earlier, drag on a TS for Data project, which will pull the PDF out of the SOAP message, and a file process for writing the file to a directory. Let's modify the file process to write it out to the output directory with the name of the PDF. And save it. Now, we don't want to pull the same doc all the time, so we'll make this accessible via a variable. We'll give it a variable name of docs_id. Save it. Okay, let's execute it. The execute dialog will come up and we'll put in that new doc_id variable. It's finished. Let's view the PDF to make sure it's all good. It is. In this demo, we showed you how you can set up a repository adapter using Xenos repository services. Once set up, you can either utilize the Xenos repository user interface to view the contents of the repository, or you can even use your own web portal to send web services calls to run searches, retrieve documents, and more. You can also enable a transformation to kick off automatically before sending it back so you don't have to make two calls, one to the repository and one to transform the document. All of this is made possible when you use Xenos Enterprise Server. Like what you saw or have any questions? Feel free to email me, visit the Xenos blog, or follow us on Twitter for our latest updates and news.